So,
Okay.
hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. John Michael Sabato. With me is Reverend Robert Brzezinski. You're watching another installment, our first one of the week, of the Peak Performance Blueprint. We do these on Mondays and Wednesdays live. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, there are blog articles that often include some of the archival video footage where we talk about mindset and business practices and all of the things that we can do by making one small shift in our approach, one small shift in our minds to have a positive impact on the 6 dimensions of wellness. And then, of course, on Fridays, we have our Inner Alchemy program where we talk about the spiritual aspect of everything we've covered in the course of that week. So we're really glad that you're here. And for those of you that are watching this on the broadcast, thank you for taking some who might have been showing up live. Thanks for taking the time to not come in at the last minute. As we're trying to move this second half of the program into a greater awareness of being mindful of other people's time, mindful of respect, and cultivating some habits that could actually make a huge difference in the business world. Because in the business world, if you tell somebody you're going to meet them at 12 o'clock, you don't want to show up at 12:05. You don't want to show up at 12:10. Once in a while, accidents happen. You get caught up in traffic or whatever. But you want to always let them know, hey, I'm just 10 minutes away and I'm stuck in traffic and this is beyond my control. So that was the first part of today's sort of topic was I wanted to make that announcement at the end to see who made priorities that were in which this class was a priority, and being here on time was a priority. So that's part one. But part two today is we're talking about two things really. The idea that questions are better than statements. And that isn't just in the business world. That's not just when you're trying to make a sale in business. Because remember, last week we talked about the fact that we're always natural salespeople, that sales is always taking place. And the most effective way to make a sale is to ask a question. Psychologists are taught when we're studying psychology, quite often those of us that are on a track to maybe go on to be counselors are often taught that the most effective counseling you could ever do is by asking the right questions, not by making statements, but by learning how to listen, asking the right questions, getting that information so that we can continue to ask more questions. And those same things happen in the sales process. If you ask the right questions, your prospect is going to tell you that they're ready to buy. They're going to tell you, this sounds like a product for me. So that's part one. But part two is what happens when that prospect is pushing back. So questions are something that we do to pull rather than to push. If you think of the salesman, usually you're sitting here and I'm sitting here, and when a salesman comes in, you see them come up close and they're right there in your face, and you feel like they're pushing you. They're in your space. They're pushing you. When somebody's in our space or they're pushing us, we want to push back. And a few months back, actually, we talked about something called mismatching, and how mismatching is our body's sort of natural response, our conscious mind's natural response to feeling threatened. So you say it's a beautiful day out. The mismatch is to naturally want to say, yeah, it's nice, but I sure wish it was warmer, or yeah, but I heard it was going to rain later, or anything that mismatches my statement. And you have to watch and be mindful as a sales professional that you're not mismatching when your prospect is talking to you as well. But there are ways, and we talked about the strategies. And so if in today's blog post, I linked to that session we did on mismatching, because I think it was one of the most important ones we've done in a long time. And so when a client or prospect or friend or spouse brings up an objection to your idea, what do? We've talked also about one of the most effective things that I learned when I was a very young guppy of a salesperson, and that was feel, felt, found. When somebody expresses their negative thoughts, you say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way too, but let me tell you what I found. And that sets up a process of, I'm not going to sell you, I'm going to share a story with you. That's why I tell you that it's so critically important in whatever business you're in. I particularly tell this to people who I work with in my primary business, is that you're paid to tell stories. You're not paid to sell products. You're paid to tell your stories and other people's stories. That's why it's so important in your first 90 days in your business to build an incredible story. And if you're beyond 90 days, start fresh and say, today is the beginning of building my 90-day story. So that you could actually say, when I got clear about this business, I made the decision, blah, 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 blah. And let me tell you what's happened to me in my first 90 days. So it can always be your first 90 days whenever you make that decision that I'm going to make a mind shift and start treating today like the first day of the rest of my life. So somebody pushes back and felt found, maybe that's not a good fit. Maybe somebody says, I just hate all network marketers and I think they're pushy assholes. If you were me, I wouldn't want to say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, because I was enamored with network marketing from the time I was 7. And I don't want to be anything but authentic. So here's the technique that we're going to teach you today. And it's really simple, but don't let this simplicity fool you, because it's powerful. So what you say in cases like that, when somebody brings up ridiculous stuff, I heard the network marketing industry was going to be out of business in the next year. I heard the FTC is going after MLM companies. I heard your company absolutely sucks, and that so many people were quitting your company that they couldn't even keep up with the loss. Irrational things that are not true. You respond by saying, I don't know about that. All I know is, and that's it. That's as simple. It sounds so simple that when the first probably 5 or 10 times that I heard it on Saturdays, I didn't write it in my notes. They were telling me to write it in my notes. I refused. I said, that sounds stupid. I'm not the kind of person who likes to say say in a sales process, I don't know. I like to say, I'll find out. And that was what I was taught before coming to Jim Rohn and Larry Thompson. And Larry said, nope, put it in your notes. And it was around the 4th or 5th time. And he said, it's probably easier to write to me in front of the whole group. It's probably going to be easier to read it in your notes if you pick up your pen. And I was like, oh, now I'm embarrassed. So now I'm going to write it down. And he's an asshole. And let me tell you something, that I'm so glad that he pushed my buttons that day, because that was something I used at least 1 million times, no exaggeration, in the last 37 years. I don't just use it in business. I use it whenever somebody is, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like mismatching. And so I don't like pushing back, because then you just start things into an adversarial direction. So when friends or friends of friends are around, or people that I find it difficult to be around, start doing things like that, start making up what I call pulling figures out of the air, or details out of the air, especially in a political climate like ours now, I just like to respond, I don't know about that. All I know is, that so-and-so when he had his affair with his secretary, or his assistant, or his whatever you call the people that don't work for you, that you don't pay them, with Monica Lewinsky. We're not going to hide. We're not going to pretend we're not talking about. Well, he did that. And my response to those people is, well, I don't know about that. All I know is Bill Clinton's not running for office right now, but this other rapist is. You see, so that may not make you a friend, but it diffuses their nonsense without fighting with them, because they're not going to fight with you when you just said, I don't know about that. I had people who said, diets, I heard that taking diet products is really dangerous, and that people die from diet products all the time. I don't know about that. All I know is that more people die from heart attacks every year that are caused and directly linked to obesity than any other physical ailment besides stress. Now, how do you think that person's going to respond? I didn't take the bait, and I didn't get into an argument with them and tell them that they were wrong. But I let them know that they were wrong, because in their minds now, they have two conflicting facts, and they're going to have to accept one or the other. And it's none of my business which one they accept. So that's the key today. And it really is that simple. And I'm gonna ask Robert if he's got anything that he wants to share on that. But this is part of a process that I'm really thinking about incorporating into our moving forward, because of what I've seen in the political arena, in culture today. There was a book that I read some time ago, and somebody forgot to tell me that they were borrowing it from my bookshelf, and who they were. So I have no idea where the book went, but I'll buy another one. But it was a book on nonviolent communication. And it was a book that I intentionally would never have lent out, because it's something that I feel that I certainly have room to majorly improve on, and something that really called me on a lot of my shit, and was brilliantly written, and was moving. It was actually one of the most powerful, sound, psychologically, social justice oriented books that I'd read, that impact the sales process, that impact personal relationships, that impact even dialogue with religious fundamentalists. It changed how I deal with religious fundamentalists. That was the first impact that it had on me, and that was when the book fell into my hands, was when I was dealing with some really rabid religious fundamentalists around this time of year, who were attacking the memory of Matthew Shepard, and it changed my encounter with Fred Phelps' people. For the first time, it was like the fifth or sixth time I'd been in close proximity to them, and it changed things. And it changed things with so many of us in our group, that wasn't me, somebody else in our group broke through to two of the people in Phelps camp who are no longer in Phelps camp, because of the incredible work that they did, learning to ask questions and eliminating violent communication, and then challenging them on the violence of their communication. So this is one of the very first baby steps that I see as being related to that concept of nonviolent communication. In our team, in my primary business, and Robert's primary business, we are dedicated to not just teaching people how to be more successful, but by teaching them how to be more successful by following ancient wisdom principles. And one of those ancient wisdom principles is the principle of ahimsa, of nonviolence. And so this just falls hand in hand. So I'm thinking of adding that to the curriculum. I'd love to hear you guys feedback on that, because imagine a world in which the sales process was absolutely non-adversarial, where there was no room for people to get bent out of shape. And that's remembering what I read from the book without being able to pick it up is going to impact the video that I do later on today with Scott for you guys. And let's hear from Robert on his feelings about this, and then I'm going to share with you guys an update on my bold declaration the other day.
Thank you, John Michael, Dr. John Michael. And I want to share, as you were concluding there, you're speaking to something that I think is absolutely unique. A team within network marketing that cares for something bigger than just the dollars. And don't get me wrong, anybody, I'm here to make money. We're all here to make money. That's a part of what we're talking about. And I am fully confident we can do that in a way where we get to care for each other, where we get to have the types of conversations that matter, where we get to talk about what's real in our hearts and how that's affecting our businesses on a day-to-day basis. And bringing nonviolent communication, bringing the heart to our sales process can only benefit the evolution of human consciousness. There's nothing else that can happen in that scenario. For years and decades, salespeople have talked about this illustrious win-win situation. And I use that term, and I knew what it meant. It meant that my win was bigger than your win, that my win was still a little more important than your win. And yeah, I'd let you think you won, but it was really about me win. Well, that's not the way it is any longer. and I refuse to play that game. I have for a long, long time now. That's part of why we're together here in this partnership, working together. I so love that Dr. John Michael and I are doing what we're doing, because it's building a team that really cares about each other, about the integrity of this business, about the products that we're selling, and the tactics and the processes we're using to sell, to be successful in our businesses, so that we can give to those things that matter, so we can contribute and serve in other ways and in other places. I personally am just thrilled that we can now take this win-win concept into something a bit deeper. And I want you to know, Dr. John Michael and I have bounced into each other a couple of times over these many, many years now. And for whatever reason, at whatever time, there were places that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to step into what was being offered to me. And so I know how it feels to be starting out, to be new at something, or to be in that club where nobody will talk to you about network marketing, because I've done a bunch and I've done them poorly in the past. I'm learning a better way now. And so I know what that feels like. I felt that same exact thing again and again in my early careers with networks. And now, with a solid foundation, with a team that really cares, and a leader that's really taking care of his team. So many places I was promised a team that no one ever really cared about the people below them. And here, we're creating a team that cares. Sound in all of this is a brand new perspective on how we can create something I don't think has ever really been done in network marketing. And it's exciting to say that together that can happen. So I'm looking forward to the journey. Let's keep it going, right?
Right on. Yeah, I am too. And I so appreciate your kind words, and for me, it's every one of you that's a part of making that process possible. You can't have a community where just one person wants the community. Otherwise, I would have done this when I had a team of 358,000 men and women. Trust me. It's been my desire all along, but there's always been leadership that's prevented it, or key members on my team that have prevented it. And this is the time when it came together. I think the vibrational frequency of us as a planet is raising to a place where we're all more on the same page. And so there's more of a harmonic resonance there. And so I want to just end up today really quickly by sharing with you guys a story. And I'm just going to speak in generalities now, although stick around when we're done, Robert, and I'll finish our conversation too. But I made the bold declaration the other day that I was open to the infinite realm of possibilities in my life, and that I was going to open myself beyond. I had this narrow scope that what I want to do, I was very clear about what I wanted to do. I was very clear about what my mission is, or my vocation, if you will. And for me, that limited that work to a very specific niche. And I had often talked about maybe doing something outside that niche, but I really didn't have the energy or interest to go out chasing, companies to like I have done in the past, to get involved with me. And so I kind of took the cop-out attitude. Well, as if a company's interested in me, I certainly have a reputation in the industry. They'll find me. And that was, I said that months ago to somebody, to Sandy, one of our members of the group, when we were having a conversation about what I was going to do going forward when I was still retired from network marketing. And so I got a telephone call the other day, or actually a message on Instant Messenger, that from somebody I hadn't spoken to in 8 years. And he said, we need to, and he sent me it as a secret message. So I'd never gotten a secret message on Instant Messenger. So I was pretty excited about that, because I didn't know it existed. And so a secret message says, I need to talk to you. And so I'm thinking pastoral counseling. It's, when you don't hear from somebody for 8 years, that's probably what it's going to be. Or maybe somebody's having a problem about something that they don't want to talk about publicly. And so I can be there. And the conversation that I had was with a gentleman who has a very successful business, a great business model, doing something that if I were in touch with my inner child side of me, my more playful and youthful dreams, back when most kids wanted to be firemen and policemen and Indian chiefs. I always thought it would be amazing to chase storms, and there's probably a metaphor in there somewhere, but this offer was made. This guy said to me, I read your stuff all the time, and that always touches my heart, because there's proof right there that you never know who's reading the stuff that you put out there on a daily basis. So that's why don't post spam, don't post your links. Your links aren't going to move anybody. Post something of value, post something of yourself, something from your heart. And you never know when that's going to be just the thing that somebody needed to see that day. And 20 people may see it, and 19 of them might not really give a crap. But that one person, it could be life-changing for them. So long story short, this guy said to me, hey, I just want to talk to you about this project that we're doing, because we're looking for somebody just like you. And we need somebody to do the things that you're doing with your group right now. So let's have a discussion, and we're going to have that discussion this afternoon in about an hour. And it involves some really cool stuff. It's going to involve some travel. It's going to involve some greater team building. For folks who are on the East Coast of the United States who are in sales, who are looking for a way to increase their income. There's certainly opportunities there for us to talk about, because we're going to be doing some amazing stuff. And I wasn't certain what the details were until yesterday, when I got a little bit more of the details. And this morning, and now this afternoon, we're going to really kind of amp things up, and there was the manifestation. I said that I was going to make a bold declaration so that I could demonstrate to you guys how spiritual mind treatment works. It was on Friday that I made that declaration, and today there's a possibility for me to double my income in the next 12 months. Which was already going to be pretty phenomenal with what we're doing with our primary business. But the opportunity just opened itself to double my income, and to do it in a way that doesn't impact my health journey, that doesn't impact my building SBC, that doesn't impact my ability to rest and enjoy my life and be outside and take my walks every day. All of that's still possible. So stay open to that ultimate potentiality that exists, and you'll never find it anywhere but in the present moment. That's why we say to stay in the moment, be grateful for what you've got, and always remember the best truly is yet to come. We'll talk to you guys soon.